Hello, today is Tuesday, August 26th, and my name is Sharon. I'll be reading to you the New Bedford Standard Times. First up is the weather. Today, we're expecting a mostly sunny and less humid day. Highs will be 79 and lows 54. On Wednesday, it's going to be delightful with clouds and sun. Highs will be only 77 and lows 52. Thursday, we're looking at mostly sunny and very pleasant day. Highs in the 76, low 58. Friday, we're looking at a chance of an afternoon shower with highs of 75 and lows of 59. Saturday, the weekend, looking for mostly cloudy with a few showers, high 74, low 51. Our first story today is by Frank Mulligan. Ordinance: Police must be U.S. citizens. City councilors unanimously voted to refer a motion to establish an ordinance that would require any person hired by the New Bedford Police Department to be a citizen of the United States to its ordinance committee. The board narrowly voted down a proposal to put the question on the November ballot. Quote, should United States citizenship be a requirement for a person to be hired as a police officer in the city of New Bedford? End quote. The results would have been non-binding. That motion, made by Councilor Leo Chiquette, failed 6-5, with Councilors Derek Baptiste, Shane Burgo, Maria Giesta, Brian Gomes, Linda Morad, and Ryan Pereira voting against. Voting for were Councilors Ian Abreu, Naomi Carney, Leo Chiquette, Joseph Lopes, and Sean Oliver. Councilor Gomes made the motion to establish the police hiring ordinance. It was referred to the council's ordinance committee, which will meet with the board's legal counsel, Attorney David Jawatowski, to establish an ordinance in the city of New Bedford that would require any person hired by the New Bedford Police Department to be a citizen of the United States. End quote. 2 New Bedford officers with lawful permanent status. According to New Bedford Police, there are currently 2 officers with lawful permanent resident status. Lawful permanent residents, who are also green card holders, can live and work permanently in the United States, but are not U.S. citizens, according to the U.S. Department of Homeland Security. According to the Law Enforcement Immigration Task Force, most jurisdictions in the United States require that law enforcement officer candidates be U.S. citizens. But the task force says an increasing number have removed citizenship as a requirement for candidates and allowed departments to consider lawful permanent residents. The task force, which includes law enforcement officials from across the nation, lists as its number 1 principle, quote, when immigrants feel safe in their communities, we are all safer, end quote. Question in Massachusetts surprisingly unsettled. It lists Massachusetts' status on citizenship requirements and law enforcement as surprisingly unsettled. It notes that the Massachusetts State Police and Boston Police have citizenship requirements. Civil service rules, it says, seems to provide conflicting guidelines. Other local departments have hired non-citizens in the past, according to the task force, including Lowell, which hired 6 Cambodian police recruits in the 1990s to patrol the growing Cambodian refugee population. Massachusetts law also limits gun licenses to citizens, which would bar non-citizens from law enforcement since they're required to have a license to carry. However, lawful permanent residents are not barred from obtaining gun licenses in Massachusetts, so that restriction doesn't apply to them. Gomes added during the August 21st City Council meeting he didn't want to force out current New Bedford officers without U.S. citizenship. He said he understood they were good officers. Wants the department to help them obtain citizenship. Gomes said he wants the department to help them to obtain full citizenship. Choquette said he didn't want to see current officers lose their jobs either. It wasn't their fault that they had been hired, he said. But Choquette said charges brought against citizens by non-citizens could be grounds for defense attorneys to have cases thrown out. The Ordinance Committee is scheduled to meet August 25th, but the agenda had already been drafted before the Council's August 21st vote. The following Ordinance Committee meeting's date has not been scheduled. Police Chief Jason Thody issued this statement, quote, "As a department that serves a diverse city and itself a diverse organization, it is important to us that we reflect the people we serve in our ranks. A diverse police department increases cultural competency and creates a foundation of expanded understanding. Having officers from various backgrounds and with different life experiences reduces community distrust and increases legitimacy, enhances the ability to communicate through language barriers, and provides opportunities for collaboration where they may not otherwise exist. At the same time, we remain committed to maintaining the highest standards by hiring individuals who demonstrate the skills, integrity, and dedication required to be outstanding police officers. Ultimately, we follow the hiring guidelines established by our elected officials." End quote. Our next story, Officials Balk at Plans for Four-Story Building, article by Catherine Gallerani. A proposed 15-unit, four-story apartment building on vacant property on Kempton Street is already facing opposition. The proposed building would be constructed with its front entrance close to and facing Emerson Street next to the United House of Prayer for All People. Ward 4 Councilor Derek Baptiste asked why there will be a four-story building in that neighborhood as compared to Temple Landing's 3 stories, and why the proposed condominium will be able to be. "I'm just worried about the aesthetic of the neighborhood going north after Mill Street and the height of the building that's going in," he said. "We're worried about how a lot of these buildings are coming into our neighborhoods and being sold, or it's not market rate and we're not getting affordable housing." End quote. Baptiste said he feels like the intent is to gentrify Ward 4 to the fullest extent, and the neighbors will want to know more about the site plans. He said he's against it and has heard concerns from neighbors. Lead project manager David Davignon said there will be 5 two-bedroom units on each floor, and the plan is to start construction in 2026. The apartments are intended to be sold and an association created to cover snow removal, plowing, landscaping, and trash removal. A dumpster on site would be emptied once a week. Awnings are proposed for all exterior doors. About the site, Planning Board member Camille Kazan said the project will abut an historic church, and while not on an historic registry, it has been recognized by the National Park Service and on other historic documents. She also said there are more than 800 families that attend nearby Kearney Academy, and there is also a church with a community center and a YWCA nearby, so the traffic would be heavier. She suggested sharing parking. Quote, "I'm not sure about 4 stories up again because it's something that's never been done before, and parking for that area is pretty available considering you have the church there and the auto parts there," she said. Kazan said New Bedford is a colonial city that abuts an historic neighborhood, and this proposal is setting up a unique situation. Assistant City Planner Michael McCarthy said a variance will be required, but the height of the building is allowed. Balconies and privacy issues. Kazan also questions the need for balconies, calling it a privacy issue. She wasn't alone in that. Planning Board member Peter Cruz also opposed the use of balconies. Where would residents park? 16 spaces for cars are proposed inside the building. A paved parking lot would be located out back. Cruz also asked questions about the parking. He said there is no stormwater report for the parking, and the test pits were done farther away from the site than is usual. The minimum number of parking spaces required is 30, but the developer's plan indicated that the project would include 31 spaces. Upcoming meeting scheduled. The hearing was continued to the next Planning Board meeting scheduled for 6 p.m. on Wednesday, September 10th, and will be online via Zoom. Our next story is by Frank Mulligan. City asks President to help stop obnoxious trash plant. New Bedford's longest tenured city councilors, Brian K. Gomes and Linda M. Morad, are asking President Donald J. Trump's help in stopping the development of a trash transfer station in New Bedford Business Park. A copy of their July 29th letter to the White House will be received and placed on file at the August 21st City Council meeting. The letter reads, quote, Mr. President, we are asking you to elevate this issue to the highest levels within your administration. It is our sincere hope that you would ask Lee Zeldin, Administrator of the United States Environmental Protection Agency, and Robert F. Kennedy, Jr., United States Secretary of Health and Human Services, to issue an immediate cease and desist to both the Massachusetts Department of Environmental Protection and the New Bedford Board of Health with regard to any approval of this site's suitability, end quote. They added, quote, Mr. President, if we are to protect the health and quality of life of our New Bedford residents, as well as the viability of our city's business park, we will need the assistance that only you can provide. We welcome the intervention of Administrator Zeldin and Secretary Kennedy and will provide any information and documentation regarding this petition, end quote. What is the plan for the South Coast Renewables trash plant? South Coast Renewables' proposed trash processing plant will accept up to 1,500 tons per day of municipal trash in construction and demolition debris 6 days a week and operate 7 days a week. SCR is at 100 Duchesne Boulevard in the New Bedford Business Park and a 65,000 square foot addition to its current glass recycling facility. The proposed plant is currently before the New Bedford Board of Health. 3 public hearings have been held, and a 4th and likely final hearing is scheduled for August 26 at the Pulaski Elementary School. In their letter, the councilors say, quote, the outcry in opposition to this project from the community has been overwhelming, end quote. They state the city's entire legislative delegation and city council are on record opposing the plant's site suitability. No one in their right mind would ever imagine that locating this type of solid waste facility in this beautiful residential neighborhood would be approved, they write. They state in the letter that the proposed site is near residences, and there are more than 2,400 single-family homes within a 1-mile radius of the plant. They also introduced themselves and provided some background on the city. Quote, as the longest-serving members of the New Bedford City Council, please allow us to introduce ourselves. We are Brian K. Gomes and Linda M. Morad. Councilors at Large Gomes, a registered Democrat, and Councilor at Large Morad, a registered Republican, respectfully and urgently request that you and senior members of your administration assist us with a critically important environmental issue that will soon affect the lives of thousands of hard-working New Bedford residents, which we join you in representing, they write in the letter's opening paragraph. They add, quote, as a bit of background, New Bedford is the 9th largest city in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, boasting a population of just over 101,000. We are a blue-collar, working-class city with a median household income of approximately $48,000. Previously known as the whaling capital of the world, New Bedford has a rich history and maintains its working waterfront, where since 2001, our commercial fishing fleet and accompanying seafood-related industries continue to generate the highest annual value of any fishing port in the United States, end quote. The councilors wrap up their 2-page letter with, quote, as we see you working for the citizens of our great nation, we too are working hard to represent the best interests of our families, neighbors, and residents. We have a great desire to move our city forward, just as you do for our country. We know that once you and your administration look at this incredibly obnoxious proposal, you will no doubt concur that this does not fit the Trump administration's goal to make America great again. Thank you, President Trump, for all you do on our behalf of this nation and for your time and attention to our request. May God bless and keep you and your family safe, and may God bless America, end quote. Our next story is by Faith Harrington, How to Help Cape Verde Devastated by Hurricane. Cape Verde declared a state of emergency last week after Hurricane Erin brought deadly floods that killed at least 9 people and forced thousands from their homes. New Bedford may be over 3,000 miles away from Cape Verde, but is a home to one of the largest Cape Verdean communities in the country. Therefore, the devastating news hit close to home. When word came that the hurricane had left a path of destruction on the islands, New Bedford residents jumped into action to help. According to recent Facebook posts by the city of New Bedford, Hurricane Erin has devastated São Vicente and Santo Antão, leaving many families without homes or basic needs. The ICN International Church of the Nazarene, with support from local partners, is collecting supplies to send to Cape Verde. Items being collected for Cape Verde: non-perishable foods, hygiene products, gently used linens and shoes, diapers for kids and adults, school supplies. Items can be dropped off from 2 to 4 p.m., Monday 3 to 5:30 p.m., Tuesday 2 to 5:30 p.m., Wednesday, and 5 to 8 p.m. on Thursday. New Bedford City Hall, Room 113, Department of Community Services at 181 Hillman Street, Building 9, and Church of the Nazarene at 286 Pleasant Street. Federal Halt a Revolution Wind Imperils Climate Goals, article by Alex Kufner. Providence. The Trump administration has halted construction of Revolution Wind, the multi-billion-dollar wind farm being built south of the Rhode Island coast that has already installed 45 of its 65 turbines. In a letter sent on late Friday, August 22nd, to Ørsted, the Danish company that is a partner on the joint venture developing the project, the Bureau of Ocean Energy Management ordered a stop to all ongoing activities related to 704 Megawatt wind farm that has contracts to deliver power to Rhode Island and Connecticut. The Bureau cited an executive order signed by President Donald Trump in January that aimed to rein in the expansion of offshore wind power in America. At the time, industry experts believed the order would stop proposed projects from moving through the permitting process, but that it wouldn't affect wind farms like Revolution Wind that were already under construction. The letter from Acting Director Matthew Giancana says the Bureau ordered the halt so that it can address concerns that have risen during a review of the project sparked by the President's order, in particular in relation to the protection of national security interests of the United States and prevention of interference with reasonable uses of the exclusive economic zone, the high seas, and the territorial seas. Onshore construction for the wind farm began more than 2 years ago, and the work shifted offshore in the spring of 2024. The first turbine went up to the project site about 15 miles south of Little Compton in September 2024. 70% of the turbines are now in place, and the total project is about 80% complete, according to Ørsted, which is in a 50-50 partnership on the wind farm with global infrastructure partners Skyborn Renewables. It was on track to start delivering power to the electric grid next year. Ørsted said it is evaluating all options to resolve the matter expeditiously. This includes engagement with relevant permitting agencies for any necessary clarification or resolution, as well as through potential legal proceedings, with the aim being to proceed with continued project construction towards commercial operation date in the second half of 2026, the company said in a statement. Ørsted is evaluating the potential financial implications of this development, considering a range of scenarios, including legal proceedings, the statement continued. Revolution Wind was aimed at fulfilling a promise made when the nation's first offshore wind farm was built off Rhode Island a decade ago. Offshore wind supporters argued that by paying more for the 5-turbine Block Island wind farm, Rhode Islanders would be rewarded with economic development and lower prices with future projects. That appeared to be the case with the much larger Revolution Wind project, which has been partially staged in the Port of Providence and Quonset Business Park. Rhode Island Energy is set to pay a flat rate of 9.8 cents per kilowatt hour for power from the wind farm, which at the time of approval was projected to save ratepayers $90 million over the life of the contract, in large part by displacing the most expensive fossil fuel burning generators in winter. Construction of the wind farm is also a key part of Rhode Island's climate policy. Rhode Island is set to get 400 megawatts of power capacity from the project, while the remaining 304 megawatts will go to Connecticut. The developers say the wind farm will generate enough power for 350,000 households. Rhode Island needs to ramp up supplies of renewable energy to slash greenhouse gases and comply with the mandates put in place by the Act on Climate, the 2021 state law that requires Rhode Island to reach net zero emissions by 2050. Governor Dan McKee, who signed the act into law, said the order undermines efforts to expand our energy supply, lower costs for families and businesses, and strengthen regional reliability. It also puts hundreds of union jobs at risk, he said. At a time when we should be moving forward with solutions for energy, jobs, and affordability, the Trump administration is choosing delay and disruption. We are working with our partners in Connecticut to pursue every avenue to reverse this decision, he said in a statement on Saturday, August 23rd. Attorney General Peter F. Naranjo said that without the wind farm, the act is dead in the water. The American Clean Power Association laid the blame for the stop work order on extreme partisan politics. Here again, the Trump administration is raising alarms about rising energy prices while blocking new supply from reaching the grid, CEO Jason Grummett said. This is the second time the administration has ordered a stop to an offshore wind farm under construction. In April, the Bureau of Ocean Energy Management issued an order affecting Empire Wind, a project off New York, only to reverse course a month later. It also comes amid increasing doubts about the future of South Coast Wind, a proposal that Rhode Island was also counting on to add to its offshore wind portfolio. That project secured approval from the federal government under President Joe Biden, but has been delayed under the new administration. The decision on Revolution Wind only adds to the uncertainty for offshore wind, said Liz Burdock, CEO of the Oceanic Network, an industry group. The decision on Revolution Wind only adds to the uncertainty for offshore wind, said Liz Burdock. This dramatic action further erodes investor confidence in the U.S. market across all industries and undermines progress on shared national priorities, shipyard revitalization, steel and port investments, and energy dominance, she said. Our next story is by Kathleen Wong. TSA's new e-gates could shorten wait times. Biometrics being used to streamline process. Airport security checkpoint lines can sometimes feel like a major holdup, but the launch of new electronic gates may help travelers get through them faster. Called e-gates, these new security checkpoint features automatically compare someone's biometrics against their identification document and boarding pass instead of having documents checked by a Transportation Security Administration officer at the lectern, according to a news release by the agency. The new pilot program is meant to streamline the airport security screening process, including by enhancing efficiency and security, the release said. Under the new modernization program, travelers will scan their boarding pass and walk up to the e-gate, which scans their face. Once cleared, they go directly to the bag screening. TSA Acting Deputy Administrator Adam Stahl said e-gates accomplished several objectives toward achieving Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem's goal to enhance TSA security and hospitality. This includes creating a seamless, less invasive traveler experience and shorter wait times at TSA security checkpoints. The e-gates are being piloted in partnership with CLEAR, CLEAR, a privately run program that already uses biometrics to expedite traveler security screening and is only available to CLEAR Plus members at Hartsfield-Jackson Atlanta International Airport, where it launched earlier in August. The TSA has complete control over e-gates, with CLEAR only demonstrating limited data, like a photo and boarding pass, the company said. CLEAR is investing in this technology at no cost to taxpayers to modernize our checkpoints and ensure America's airports are ready to meet global expectations. CLEAR CEO Karen Seidman-Becker said in a statement, CLEAR's secure identity platform will help unlock a better, safer, and more frictionless experience for all travelers. The e-gates will roll out at Ronald Reagan Washington National Airport and Seattle-Tacoma International Airport later in August, with a slated nationwide implementation before the influx of travel for the 2026 FIFA World Cup Games, according to Claire. Our next story by Trevor Hughes. Failed English tests mean truckers taken off roads. At least 3,000 truckers have been taken off American roads over the past 2 months after they failed mandatory roadside English tests as the Trump administration gets tougher on commercial drivers nationally. The move has drawn applause from many trucking associations, which say consistent enforcement will improve road safety by ensuring drivers can read roadside signs, including message boards warning of slow traffic ahead or dangerous road conditions. But some critics worry about the potential for improper racial profiling by police. Adding new urgency to the debate, California licensed trucker Arhinder Singh is accused of causing a fatal August 12th crash in Florida after pulling an illegal U-turn and colliding with the minivan. He then failed a roadside English proficiency test, federal officials said in a social media post, calling him an undocumented immigrant who should not have been licensed. Federal law is clear. A driver who cannot sufficiently read or speak English, our national language, and understand road signs is unqualified to drive a commercial motor vehicle in America. This common sense standard should have never been abandoned, Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy said in announcing the new enforcement policy. The top 5 states where drivers have been removed from roads are in descending order: Texas, Tennessee, Wyoming, Iowa, and Arizona. Texas has removed nearly 350 drivers from the road, according to federal statistics. Although some states allow drivers to take the written portion of the commercial driver's license test in either English or Spanish, truckers must also demonstrate proficiency solely in written and oral English when they take the practical test. Singh, who's a native of India, used a translator in a California court appearance on August 20th. Once on the road, truckers are also required to speak and read English during traffic stops and weigh station checks. The Obama administration suspended enforcement of the English proficiency rule in 2016, but the Trump White House reversed that decision as of June 25th, requiring truckers to talk to inspectors, the use of translators. The English language rule has been law for decades, although unevenly enforced. This is Tuesday, August 26th. My name is Sharon, and I've been reading from the Bedford Standard Times. Hope you all have a great day.